What's up, everybody? It is Friday injury report time, and I'll tell you, we couldn't have asked for a much better situation going into this game. Injuries came out less than an hour ago, and I'll tell you, we have come out of this looking about as good as you could have hoped. So, obviously, the guys who were on IR still out for the foreseeable future. It's already been discussed. So that part of it, yeah, not ideal. But we knew that. We've known that for a while. Travis Homer, Trey Brown, Alton Robinson, obviously still waiting on those guys. But in terms of the unknown, in terms of the guys who could have gone either way going into this game, going through this week, it's clean. We have two guys on our injury report going into Sunday's game. We have Joey Blunt, who doesn't really play anyway, questionable with a hamstring injury, and Justin Coleman, who probably would be our starting nickelback, is doubtful. So I don't expect Coleman to play. He's an older player. It takes longer for those guys to come back from injury sometimes, so it's not surprising. But Coleman probably not going to play, and there is definitely some consequence there because he is he would be playing quite a bit if he was healthy. But other than that, everything is good. Shelby Harris not listed, so I assume that he's good to go. The offensive line, the interior of the offensive line, which was a little bit beat up as this week went on, good to go. Cody Barton, good to go. And I know Cody Barton is bad at football, but he's better than Nick Bellore, presumably, I think. Quandre Diggs, good to go. So it's clean. Going into a game this clean when you spent the whole week with an injury report that was like this long, just massive, ton of important players. You couldn't have asked for anything better. So, hey, there's no excuse. You're not missing much of anything on either side of the ball. You're missing your third down running back, and you're missing your starting nickelback. And obviously, there will be a consequence felt there. Kobe Bryant not playing that well as a nickel corner. I think he's, like I've said it many, many times, he's miscast there. And as much as Coleman doesn't have much left, I would kind of rather have him out there than have Kobe out there, just because I don't think this is necessarily helping him. But this is clean. This is clean. You've got your offensive linemen. You've got most of your defensive line. It's look at the other side here, just to get an idea of how big an advantage the Seahawks should have in this game going into it. Okay, this is the Lions injury report that came out a little bit ago. So let's run through it real quick. So they are going to have Frank Ragnow, and they are going to have T.J. Hawkinson. Both those guys are good, so that's a big deal. But Jonah Jackson, their starting guard, out. Their starting kicker, Austin Siebert, out. Their best running back, DeAndre Swift, out. Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe their best receiver. He's certainly up there. He's a very important part of that offense, out. So you are really chipping away at what makes the Lions the Lions. And while we're here, DJ Chark, who isn't having the greatest year, but is still an important player, questionable. Josh Reynolds, questionable. So you add that to the fact that Jameson Williams is out for some time. They are missing most of their playmakers. They are missing a huge chunk of what has made their offense so good to start this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown was killing it. DeAndre Swift was killing it. And you're potentially, we'll see in the coming couple days here, but you're also stripping away possibly Chark and Josh Reynolds, two guys who, without Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift out there, are going to be called on even more. So they may be down to their fifth and sixth and seventh receivers, guys who the league, as a generally speaking, barely even know about, guys who have done very little in their careers and have very little to point to in terms of what makes them an NFL caliber player. So you you take a look at this, look at what they're missing, and you compare it to what we have, like there is a clear opportunity for the Seahawks team to put a stake in the ground here and say, you know what, our defense is bad. Our defense is terrible, but we're playing a Lions team that is missing a bunch of playmakers, missing a piece on the offensive line, missing a kicker, by the way, and that could be, excuse me, significant too. Like we've seen in the NFL this year, look at the Chiefs. Not having a kicker really changes the way you have to play sometimes, or it just forces you to take low odd situations when you normally would never even have to think about it. Like when you have your starting kicker, you make certain assumptions about what he's going to be able to do that you can't take those things for granted with whoever it is you bring in. Even if the guy you bring in is not necessarily terrible, it's just different. So, yeah, we couldn't have asked for anything better this week. We're still getting Jared Goff. I imagine we're going to see a lot of Jamal Williams, but their offensive line missing a starter is huge because the Lions, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow, a huge part of their identity is having a great offensive line. And they still have their 2 tackles. They're going to have Frank Ragnow, which is huge. And they're going to have Logan Stenberg, who, he's not a star, but he's a guy that I remember really liking coming out of the draft. And I think he's a pretty solid guard. So they're still going to have some of that stuff, but now they have a weakness. Going into this game, assuming that they were going to be healthy, I was looking at this offensive line thinking they're pretty light on weaknesses. But now they have a little bit of one, and as a defense, you have to look at this and go, okay, we kind of got humiliated by Jimmy G coming off the bench cold. We kind of got humiliated by Marcus Mariota and a mediocre, maybe not even mediocre, Falcons offensive line. But it's time to make a stand here. This Lions offense still has Jared Goff, still has, looks like they're going to possibly have DJ Chark. Still going to have Jamal Williams, like I said. Still going to have that offensive line. Going to have Hawkinson. You still look at it and you go, this is going to be one of the weaker offenses we play the rest of the year, right? Because an offense in this state of health is clearly well below an offense that we're going to see when we play teams like the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Rams, even the Cardinals, the Buccaneers. You wouldn't expect those offenses to be worse than what we're probably going to get this weekend, right? You just wouldn't. So, hey, get it done. So, yeah, that's your injury report going into this upcoming game. We've got a lot working in our favor and not a lot working against us right now. This Lions offense in particular is beat up. They're missing a lot of what makes them good. A lot of what has made them one of the top scoring offenses through the first 3 weeks. And we, like I said, one player of consequence outside of the guys who are on IR. But you know what? The Lions have that too. Basically, right? Like, I think Tracy Walker's on IR, who was one of their better players on defense. Jamison Williams, he's not on IR, but he's been out. So we can't even really point to that. So, hey, no excuses. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I will be streaming the UW-UCLA game tonight at 7:30. Hope to see you guys there. I'll talk more about that a little later. Peace out, go Hawks, and there's your injuries update.